good afternoon, aloha, good morning, whatever time zone you're in. I will be your host today because Deacon Modesto is going to be one of our guest speakers today. So welcome everyone to this webinar. Thank you for signing up. And again, please mute your microphones. This is being recorded, so if you don't want your picture throughout, you can also turn off your cameras. And so we will be doing the November song from the script and the stage. And I'm going to, Deacon Modesto and Eva Andrade will be our main panelists today, sharing their experiences. But I also want to do a shout out and aloha to a number of the crew members that will be joining us towards the end. So Lady Eva, who's an actress and executive director and Hawaii Catholic Conference, is the current president and CEO of Hawaii Family Forum, a 501c educational organization that has promoted life, faith, family, and religious freedom in Hawaii since 1998. Eva has assisted families in Hawaii by providing research and education on a variety of issues important to the community. In 1994, before coming to HFF, Ms. Andrade worked for 8 years at the Hawaii Catholic Conference, the public policy arm for the Roman Catholic Church in the state of Hawaii, and currently serves as its executive director. She's also a current and active member of the Hawaii Catholic Conference Board of Directors. Originally from Pearl City, she currently lives in Mililani, has 2 daughters and 4 grandchildren. So Eva, thanks for joining us. Next, I'll give you a summary of Deacon Modesto, who was born and raised in Puerto Rico with family and friends surrounding him. And then in 1984, he joined the U.S. Army, where he did 10 years, 9 months, and 4 days of honorable service. Deacon Modesto, during his time there, headed out to Oklahoma as part of his first assignment, which is where he got his underdegree degree at Cameron University in Oklahoma. He also got to be in Korea, but then got reassigned back to the United States in Colorado and did his Master's of Communication at the university there, Northern Colorado. After his service time, he then went into a career with the Department of Defense, started there in 1995, got promoted in all kinds of awards while serving that department. From 1999 to 2020, Deacon taught communication and public speaking courses for 2 Hawaii universities, Chaminade and Wayland Baptist University, as an adjunct instructor. In 2007, he was ordained a permanent deacon for the Roman Catholic Church there in the Diocese of Honolulu. He worked part-time as an adult faith coordinator and then became the director of the Office of Worship from 2012 to 2021. He was also coordinator for the RCIA process at St. John Apostle and Evangelist Church in Mililani from 2007 to 2021. Deacon Modesto apparently didn't have a lot to do, so he also went on and got a second master's in pastoral theology from Chaminade in 2014. Deacon has a special connection with the performing arts. He has acted in and directed comedy, drama, problem play, and theater of absurd. Deacon has authorship 4 plays, directed over 9 productions in Puerto Rico, Oklahoma, and in Hawaii. He's also had some small speaking parts in the ABC series of The Map and Snatched, the movie. Deacon is currently serving as the director for the Office of Worship from the Diocese of Orange and is married to Eileen, who is also joining us today. They both have 3 girls, 2 grandchildren, a grandson, and a granddaughter. So welcome to both Deacon and Eva. We're always in the presence of God, and so we begin in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Lord Jesus, you who gave us your commandment of love of God and neighbor, and identified yourself in a special way with the most needy of your people, hear our prayer. Faithful to your teaching, Saint Marianne Cope loved and served her neighbor, especially the most desolate outcast, giving herself generously and heroically for those afflicted by leprosy. She alleviated their physical and spiritual sufferings, thus helping them to accept their afflictions with patience. Her care and concern for others manifested the great love you have for us. Through her merits and intercession, grant us the favor which we confidently ask of you, so that the people of God, following the inspiration of her life and apostolate, may practice charity towards all according to your word and example. Amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. And before we jump right into it, I just wanted to say on behalf of the Sisters of St. Francis, we've been celebrating the 10th anniversary of Sisters' canonization, which is why we reached out to Eva and Modesto to do November's song for us today. So thank you both again for accepting that invitation, and mahalo to all of you who made it possible.
Our pleasure, my pleasure to be with you guys today in a different role as a participant instead of being the host. So it's really good to be here. You want us to go ahead and get started, sister?
Go right ahead.
Okay, well, Eva and sister and I had a discussion the other day on how we're going to go through this, and we thought it was probably a good idea just for the audience that is with us this morning or this afternoon to hear about how this play November Song came about. In 2011, I actually was working on a production at my parish level, the Joyful Mysteries, and Bishop Larry Silva came to see the play. And after he saw the play, he came to my office at the parish, and he put in a script on my desk of November Song. And he said, I would like you to read this script and to perhaps put it together. And the play, who is written by George Herman, it was produced and put together once in Hawaii with the actress. It is a monologue, and the production was done a little different as I view it. It was done with a black screen behind the actress, and the actress basically performed the entire monologue. We were lucky that we had a sister of St. Francis, Sister Marie Lawrence Hensley, who adapted the script, who was gifted to the Sisters of St. Francis by George. And then from there, we went on and start thinking about how we're going to do this production. And I guess the key in here is, this is a monologue. We need to find an actress that will carry on this show for about an hour and a half minutes, and to perform also the life of Sister Marianne. So in discussion with Bishop Larry, he suggested for me to go and talk to Miss Eva Andrade, who we knew each other because we were co-workers, but we didn't really have a good friendship at the moment, other than being peers. And I went over and I saw Eva, and she probably has a story to tell you about how that conversation happened.
Yeah, so I'm sitting in my office minding my own business. And I think for everybody that works for the diocese, you know exactly how this works, right? If you make eye contact with anybody that's in leadership position, especially bishop, they ask you something, and the next thing you know, you're doing all these things. And so I see Modesto walks into my office, and the first question he asks me, and for all the ladies that are watching this, I want you to imagine for a moment what I was thinking. He walks into my office and he goes, "How old are you?" And I'm sitting there thinking, why is this man asking me how old I am? And so I'm not afraid of my age. So I told him at that time I was in my mid-40s. And he said, good. You're about the right age of what we're looking for. And I said, well, what are you looking for? And he goes, would you like to be in a play? And so I'm thinking, what is a play? A play is you have a line, I have a line, she has a line, he has a line. This sounds great. So I thought, oh, this might be kind of fun. Sure. He said, it's about Mother Marianne. She was a sister of the St. Francis. And that touched me very much to my heart, because in my intermediate years, it was the Sisters of St. Francis that taught me everything I know about my religious formation. Back then, it was Sister Innocentia, or she was known as Sister Florence Ramada. She was a very near and dear person to bring faith into my life. And so doing anything for the St. Francis sisters. And to this day, if I make eye contact with a St. Francis sister, I will always do what they want me to do. But I said yes. And then Modesto hands me this play, which was not a play. It was a monologue, and it was 40 pages long. And I thought, oh my God, I have no idea what this means or what it entails. But the Bible says, let your yes be yes. And so I ended up doing it, and I don't regret not one moment of it.
And we were so happy that she said yes, because she's been our true Marianne for now 10 years. As we actually are celebrating next week our 10th anniversary of November Sun, to be performed in the islands of Hawaii. We actually started the performance of the show with the island tours. We went to every single island in Hawaii and performed the show first. And that started on October 27th, all the way until November 1st. And then we came back to Hawaii, to Oahu, where then we did 2 performances in November 16 and 17 at Sacred Hearts Academy. And we are going to be showing some of the videos in a few minutes. And then we did a revival of the show a year later at St. Francis School on November 9 and 10. So a total of 10 performances were done of this show. And talking to Eva a couple of days ago, says, Eva, we have to do it again. Come on, 10 years anniversary celebration. So I know that the sisters that are listening, they probably can put something on motion and get us going and get this show somewhere in the States, maybe in New York or somewhere in California, and get this show again. Before we show you some of the videos and clips that we're going to want to talk about it, I want to show you some of the posters that we use for promotion for the show. We were so lucky that we have Mr. Philip Sabado. He's an artist from Maui, and he put together this poster, and he allowed us to use this poster as part of our production, PR, and publicity for the show when we did a Sacred Hearts Academy. Then we had Deacon Keith Caviles put another poster together for us when we did the show at St. Francis School in 2013. And because we already had pictures from the first show, we were able to incorporate these pictures into our second show in 2013. And we also had some pictures of the playbills that were used for the shows. And we had the cast member. We had a wonderful cast member from 2012. We was the original cast, everybody with an asterisk next to their names. Those are our original cast. And then when we did it back in 2013, some of the original cast came back, and then some of them were not able. So we had another wonderful group of people that joined us. We had a wonderful 2 hula halaus that joined us bajo the direction of Kumu Hula, Colleen Ayu, and Kumu Hula Ohai Susa in both different years with their hula halaus they perform, and you guys are going to see a little of that in a moment. And you know, a show cannot be done just with the actors and the director. The show needs a production crew. And we had a wonderful, wonderful production crew under the direction of Mr. Michael Browning, who is with us today. And we will be always grateful for all the work that he did for both productions in 2012 and 2013. And we will sure at the end, before we end this presentation today, to allow them some time to share some of their memories. But now what we like to do is we are gonna stop, bring over a video of the show, and Eva and I, with sisters' help, we want to show you some of the scenes and talk to you about the scenes that we want to share. And we would like to start with the introduction of the show, which was the hula halau singing to Sister Marianne.
Yeah, just to give you all a heads up, the sound is a little iffy.
Sorry, Eva, say again?
No, I just wanted to let everybody know that the sound is a little iffy. So if you know you're not hearing it quite, you know, to the best quality, we just want to give you that heads up.
You know, when we decided to do this show, since this is about Hawaii and Sister Marianne being in Hawaii, I look at the opportunity to start a show with a hula halau, doing a song, which I think it has to do with Sister Marianne, and had the opportunity to start the show with that beautiful interpretation. So, and we had, like I said earlier, two wonderful halaus, one on Sacred Hearts Academy and one on San Francisco the year after they were able to come and perform. The performance that you are watching today on these clips are the ones that were done at Sacred Hearts Academy in 2012. So, 110 years anniversary. Now, I wanted to stop here and we are gonna move the video forward, because we wanted to show you the next scene, which is the scene where Sister Marianne is becoming Sister Marianne and explain to us her habit as she's getting bested by their other sisters. And we will have a little of the sound, but then we will stop the sound so that Eva and Sister can speak over.
You know, for those of you watching, just know that these are real habits. They're not costumes. So we are being vested in real St. Francis sisters' habits.
Sister?
So Eva, when you were doing these plays. What was it like for you to be transformed into Saint Marianne? What was going through you? What were you feeling?
I know that before each production, I spent a lot of time in prayer because I knew that I wasn't bringing a fake person to life. I was bringing a real person to life. And I was really mindful of that, that I was representing this wonderful woman who did this great ministry to the community. And so as they were putting each of those pieces, you know, the cornet, the veils, the bib, I know that what I was thinking, and even though I know that this is not quite what was happening to Mother Marianne, but for me, I was thinking of putting on the full armor of God, you know, the breastplate of righteousness and the belt of truth and the helmet of salvation. But I was thinking of this ministry and this wonderful work that Mother Marianne brought to the community. And it was very humbling because it was not only a physical transformation from what she was wearing into the full veil of the professed nun, but it was also a spiritual one of knowing that you're going from what had come before to the ministry that God placed you in, and to do that with the heart that I know that Mother Marianne had. And I think that that's my goal every time I put that habit on, is that I'm not Eva anymore. Now I'm Mother Marianne. And I'm hoping that when people come around, that they feel that same presence. And I know that my love for the sisters is great, but I know that Mother Marianne's love for this community was even greater.
It was really amazing, as Eva mentioned earlier, that we were lucky enough to have sisters that still have their habits, and they allow us to use them for the production and the performances. So as Eva said, are not costumes that were made for this production. This is our true habits the Sisters of St. Francis wear at certain point in their lives through their vocation. So every single piece that you see in there that these ladies are wearing, they are truly habits. And not only that, we also were lucky enough to have a real sister of St. Francis, Sister Marie Jose Romano, performing one role of the sisters. And she is the one right now standing behind Eva, just checking and be sure that everything was put in the right place as Eva was getting dressed with the habit.
I know that all the other sisters in the production, we all felt the same way. The minute we put the habit on, we had stepped into this new feeling, this new persona, but we also knew that we were actually representing sisters. And so it became very serious for us. The minute we put those habits on, we would all be standing very proper. We'd be holding our hands. We didn't act up silly and all of that. It was a surreal experience.
This next scene that we want to play is when Marianne received the letter inviting her to come into what at that time was known as the Sandwich Islands. I'm going to let the volume go a little for.
The letter that arrives from Father Waynor, that cunning and clever man, soliciting our nuns for service in the Sandwich Isles, is a masterpiece. Reverend Mother Superior, I have passed 29 years of my life as a missionary in the Sandwich Isles. My bishop, Right Reverend Herman, requested by the King of the Archipelago and his government, sent me to this country to look for sisters who would take charge of our hospitals and our schools, if it were possible.
Sister?
Yep. And here you see Marianne reading the letter for the first time. Officials asking for nursing sisters. And we now know that this letter went out to 50 different orders, and she was the only one who responded. And so as you guys were doing this part of the play, what do you think was probably going through her mind? I know what we know from the writings of Sister Leopold and Dina, but as you were trying to interpret this, when you look at this moment, Eva, especially for you, what goes through your mind on this?
I was actually thinking, even in trying to bring this part of the character to life, was that she was a very strong woman. She was highly administrative. She was able to do so much. And it's why that, you know, from the moment she said yes to the ministry, she rose very quickly to do many things. And so I was thinking that in this experience for her, she knew she was going to say yes to this because she felt the calling was very strong for her. And we know from the script that even the calling to become a sister was very, very strong for her. So when she felt the calling, she was going to make it happen. And as a strong, determined woman who knew she was going to have a big ministry here, I thought, how do you bring that to life? You know, the strength, the determination, but also, you know, her ability to plug into what the Lord was asking her to do was phenomenal as well. So trying to marry those three components was really important for me.
One thing that I wanted to reemphasize too is that we were also, again, lucky to have the Sisters of St. Francis with us throughout the entire production. Sister Marie Jose Romano and Sister Alicia Damian Lau, both were our historians. And we kept going back and forward, me as a director, Eva as to the sisters to ask for their support and to let us know, hey, are we doing this right? We wanted to be sure that even though that this is an artistic production and it's a show, we wanted to be sure that we are doing it properly. And Eva is portraying Marianne as close as possible as we knew her through the writings that we had in our hands to use. So yes, we did a lot in terms of checking with the sisters. And I know that Eva and I had moments, you know, especially me as a director, I wanted to bring certain parts of the show a little more dramatic, and the sisters will calm down and said, hey, I don't think the sister will react that way. So me and Eva had to sit down and talk about it. I says, okay, let's bring it down a little, just to be sure that we are doing the proper representation of Sister Marianne. This next scene that we wanted to, so Sister Marianne got invited to the Sandwich Islands and she said yes. So we want to play now the scene in which the sisters are in the Mariposa, is the name of the ship that the sisters took from San Francisco into the Sandwich Islands. So we wanted to play a little of that piece for you, and then we will have Eva and Sister talk.
Of seasickness. Excuse me. I emerge on the seventh day as the good ship sweeps through the rough channels between Olopati and Hawaii. There is a somewhat pompous gentleman at my elbow, one of the island-born, known as Kama'aina. He cheerfully appoints himself official guide and points out to me a gray island low to my left. That's Olopati. At the foot of the sea cliff, which you cannot see from here, is Kalapapa, where the leper settlement is located.
So as Deacon said, here's a part of the play depicting what was going on the Mariposa. As most of you who have read the book know, there was more of a solemn process around that. But even as you were portraying this and thinking about seasickness or even just traveling today versus traveling then, and what it took for her to do that, what was going through your mind? And probably you could speak on behalf of some of the cast that was there as you were preparing this and going through your lines.
I know that there's an earlier part in the script where she talks about the frozen toes of the sisters in Syracuse and how they were really looking forward to the warmth of the islands. But we have to imagine that feeling of seeing the islands for the first time in all of its natural beauty, right? And I think I won't get it exactly right, but I know the lines talk about how the mountains themselves looked as if God himself had traced his fingers down the side of the mountains and the midst. And so I know that the sisters probably were just in awe of the beauty. And for those of us that travel away, we come back to Hawaii, and every time we see this beautiful place that we call home, it strikes us to our very heart. So I know that they experienced some of that. But as you mentioned, she talks about being seasick quite often on that trip. So I think that there must have been a part of them that were ready to get off the ship and to just touch land and not have that seasick feeling. But there was also the birthing of the feeling of what was yet to come, because her desire to minister to the people who were sick and needed the touch of the Savior and needed healing and needed all of that stuff that they were bringing. I think there was probably a lot of that in her as well, because all of the writings of Sister Leopoldina talk about how much Mother Marianne plugged into her relationship with Jesus and what he was calling her to do. So I think there was all of that, going on, and the excitement, of course, of coming. And then the last thing I want to say about that too is that Mother Marianne, she didn't like to be on the stage and everybody looking at her all the time. She had a job she wanted to do, and that was what she was coming here to do. So I think that the script talks about how when she saw all of those people standing on the dock waiting for her, it was like, her thought of, I'm just coming to do ministry and all these people are here. So I think there was also a little bit of that, hesitation because of the attention, but she was determined to do what God was calling her to do. And I think that was very, very important.
I wanted to mention that from the artistic point of view, this scene, when I read the script for the first time, this scene in particular is the one that actually got me to think, I wanted to bring a full cast to this show. I don't want it to have an actress performing Marianne all by herself as the monologue was written to be done, because I wanted her words to become alive. And thinking about what we just watched, the sisters being there behind Marianne, articulating what she was saying and living through the fact of, here is Molokai, here we are at the port, and everybody's saying hello, and feeling sorry for sister when she was feeling seasickness. All of those things, I thought, hey, why not? Why we don't bring all 6 sisters into this and not be only Marianne there by itself? And I think that Eva probably appreciate that, because that will help, at least knowing that even though they don't have speaking parts, well, at least she has somebody that she can talk to and work with throughout the show.
Absolutely. I mean, just because I'm Portuguese does not mean that I could have carried a monologue without all of the great supporting actresses and Damien and the crew and the stage. I mean, I don't know that this video is doing it justice, but that stage was absolutely phenomenal. Like, you could actually go into that house. The work that went into putting all of this stuff together, I mean, shout out to all of the people that brought that to life, because it was phenomenal.
It was, and I'm probably at the end, before we end, my brownie will come and mention some of those things, what it went through to put together this one amazing production piece. This next scene that we wanted to show is the scene in which Marianne encountered for the first time a person, a patient on Kaka'ako. She's still on Kaka'ako. She hasn't got to Ka'aleʻapapa yet. And this is when she encountered for the first time one of the patients with Alzheimer's disease. Okay, trying to get it to work.
manner of dying. Their manner of dying, I am to learn later, is born of despair and a sense that no one cares. I memorized the phrase that describes their dying. Naka, kung wala ako ikaw ang the people free give up their souls and die. That afternoon, during my initial visit to the branch hospital for lepers in Kaka'ako, I see for the first time a leper.
I know the videos the sound's not that good, but I want Eva to give a chance to explain what's happening here. And I apologize, I say Alzheimer's disease. That's not what it was.
One of the most beautiful things about the heart of Mother Marianne was the fact that she saw beyond the sickness, beyond the illness, beyond the leprosy, and she saw the beauty of this young girl she was ministering to, and she did it throughout her ministry. And that's what's so powerful about the script at this point, is she's acknowledging that this is a human being that needs the touch and love of a human being, and she was not afraid to touch them and to pray with them. And I have to say that every single time this is my favorite scene in the entire show, and every time we did it, I would get choked up and I would actually get tears in my eyes, because I knew that she was doing it from the deepest place of her heart, because she also knew that Jesus loved them too, and she wanted to be that touch for them. And it was so powerful to me. And it was at this moment, and I just want to say to all the sisters of St. Francis, that this was where the marriage of that faith formation I got as a young girl was able to be shown. This is what the St. Francis sisters taught me, and this is why I was able to bring that portion to life. It was very powerful for me.
Sister, you have any comments?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Deacon, actually to comment on this piece, because part of what the audience may not, or the attendees right now might not remember or recall, is that as you were putting all this together, Marianne is actually speaking with the spirit of Damien through this piece. And so for you, as you looked at the script and you were pulling all this together, what's happening for you here?
Like Eva said, this script has so many good parts on it. And actually, I don't know how many of you that are with us today remember, but before we went out on tour, we have at the convention center, it was a banquet, and the sister asked us to perform a little piece of the show. And this is the piece that we show during that banquet, because it shows so much of the humanity piece of Marianne. And that is what I wanted to show throughout this entire production, that humanity piece, that love, that compassion. Yes, we know, and forgive me, sisters, but we know that Sister Marianne was stubborn, but that is what got her to where she got. And that was why she was able to do what she did, but under that armor, as Eva mentioned earlier, it was a heart. And this scene really speaks about that. And, I haven't seen the show for 10 years. And as I was preparing for this webinar today, I started watching the show again a couple of weeks ago, and I came to tears as I'm watching these different scenes. And I didn't cry during the production, because I was most nervous about, let's get this right, But now, sitting back 10 years later and seeing how well this was put together, because Eva was able to capture well these moments, it did brought tears to me. But yes, you know, one thing that we don't see here much on the screen is that throughout the entire show, Marianne is speaking to Damien, or speaking to the spirit of Damien. And to answer your question, I think that that was one of the catalysts for Marianne, to knowing that she was following the footsteps also of Damien, and being sure that what she was doing was the work of this man that started in Kalapapa. And even though she started back on Honolulu before she did a lot of work on Maui, on Honolulu, before she actually landed in Kalapapa, you know, but she did it knowing that also Damien was there. And she also was throughout, at least throughout the show, we see her speaking to him about the inspiration that she got from him. I think the next scene that we wanted to see is also another encounter that Marianne has with another patient. And in this scene, she's actually teaching the sisters on how to take care of a wound of a little girl. So let me try to get us there.
I know this. This won't take long, and I'll try not to. Wash away the pus. Carefully. Clean out all the rot. Yes. In some cases, there will be rains. Cut away the dead flesh around the perimeter of the sores, like so. An ointment might help to soothe. And always bind with pain pulse.
Thank you for that. This is a point where I ask both you, Deacon, and Eva, as you're doing these different scenes. One of the backdrops is the Sisters of St. Francis are probably in the first couple of rows, watching you guys go through this. So I'm not going to presume that you weren't feeling some pressure, even though you're doing a very compassionate moment, a recognition of what it might have been for sisters to be doing something like that. But what was it like as you're there doing this, especially for you, Eva? You're seeing the sisters sitting there. What were you feeling from that perspective, or what was your hopes in terms of a reaction from the sisters?
Well, I mean, you nailed it right there. Because they were sitting in the front row, we knew from the moment that first note and the halal came out until the very end of the show that they were going to be watching every moment of everything we did. And I think that there was that pressure of, we've got to do this right. Because again, this is not a make-believe person. This is a real person. But I just have to share that the sisters started to get into it. You know, I would say a line and then I would hear, yes, that's right, or even amen. It was so wonderful to see the feedback. I mean, not all of them were that outspoken, but I loved it, because then I realized that they were just as vested into this production as we were, and then it became much better.
Yeah, from my point of view, even though, as I mentioned earlier, we had Sister Marie Jose and Sister Alicia Damian Lau with us throughout the entire production, helping us and be sure that we were following properly the representation of Marianne. I was all the way on the back of the PA there on the last row, right next to the exit door. I was worried that, oh no, these ladies are all gonna get up, I'm gonna leave, and they're gonna say, this is not Marianne. But to my happy surprise, they were, like Eva said, very into it. And at the end, they share how much appreciative they were, how happy they were of how we portray Marianne, to the point that they asked us to do it again a year after. So, and it was no kudos for me or for Eva. I think it was all for Marianne.
Yes.
For the sisters. I stopped the video on your screen, and I wanted to make a note in here, seeing Marianne washing her hands. And Eva, you probably can speak about it, but before this scene, there was another scene that we didn't play, in which Marianne makes a point to tell the sisters what, Eva?
None of my sisters will ever contract leprosy, and none did.
And none did. As long as we know, Sister Cheryl, you correct us, but as long as we know, none of the sisters ever got sick.
That's correct.
It was because of Marianne emphasizing the importance of cleaning, safety, and taking care of each other. Sister,
yeah, there's a scene earlier where when she gets to the hospital for the first time, she demands that everything be scrubbed from top to bottom. She called them the whitewashed walls or something. She was very determined that all of the patients were going to be in a clean, neat hospital, and she made that happen.
Sister, you have any comments from the sisters' view on this?
Well, from my perspective, I remember a number of the sisters sharing what it was like for them to minister to the patients, and even today. But at the time that they were in their habits, there was a room where once they were finished working with the patients, they would go in, totally take off what they had, put on another set of habits. And then there was somebody else who was responsible for, washing them and things like that. So there was a very strong, what people would call maybe a strict process of how to, sanitation and the whole process of cleanliness that I think a lot of us even today are sensing now, because we're going through COVID and have been going through COVID, how important that aspect of being is. So we're grateful for that, to have that as part of the legacy.
Thank you. This next scene that we're going to play, as I mentioned earlier, throughout the show, Damian will come through the right of the stage and appear in there, and Marianne will have kind of conversations with him, even though he will not respond back to her, but more like she's speaking to him and checking with him that everything that she was doing, it was okay. And this moment on the script is the first time, because there will be another time later in which Damian actually comes in, now not as a spirit, but as a human, to see Marianne. And this is the scene that Damian already had contracted leprosy, and he goes to Kaka'ako. Sister Marianne and her sisters are still working at Kaka'ako, the hospital. And here is when Damian comes in, knowing that he's already on his last, perhaps, months or days, and he comes to pledge to Sister Marianne to please take his sisters and go to Kalapapa. So let's watch this piece.
I understand. Dr. Bovitz recommended you, and no one said directly to you could not. You wish to hear about the treatment you give our patients. feel it could help you as well as my sister. I remember well receiving the call that the afflicted priest was in Honolulu. He now had leprosy, and no one wanted to take him. It was never clear who did give him permission to leave the settlement, although the superintendent did tell him when the boat was leaving. I told the caller, Mr. Pearson, to bring him to our hospital and not say anything to him. He suffered enough. Yeah. Anyplace else? Yes. You feel it is the peroneal nerve of your left leg and foot? Yes.
So here we now see Damien entering in, and Deacon, I'm going to have you kick this piece off. You have Damien draped with, the black veil over him and what have you. So why don't you just tell the audience what's happening here for you?
Yes. Well, we researched, first of all, some people may ask why Damien is covered with a veil, but we did research on it and we find out, yes, the Damien, when he was going out, he was wearing a veil, and it could have been for many reasons, but we guessing that one of the reasons is because he didn't want people to see him the way that he looked at that moment. And Marianne actually describes on the show after he leaves and how his nose was disfigured, how his face was, completely, the skin coming noticeable, the illness, and the reason that we put the veil on it. But again, the importance of this scene is Damien coming in and asking the sisters to move to Kalapapa and work and continue the journey. And Marianne, one more time, say, yes, we will do this. And I'm going to let Eva talk a little about it. And you probably will see on the screen that in a moment here, we are going to also see Marianne gifting Damien with a slip that he will put in Hawaiian material that he will use to hold his hand. And this is something that we see in a lot of pictures that we have seen from Father Damien, him wearing that slip that Marianne gave him. And actually, even the monument in front of the Capitol in Honolulu, he's portrayed with him wearing that. So Eva, can you share with us about this scene too?
Yeah, what was really fun about this scene is in the script, it talks about how he's asking her about the treatment that they use there. And he specifically is asking her about the Goto treatment, which was a 30-day treatment. I do remember that. And earlier you saw him put up his hands like this because he was asking her if she could do the treatment in 5 days. And she found that quite humorous that no, we can't do a 30-day treatment in 5 days. But it was, again, this importance of what she was doing in her ministry, plus her relationship with Damien. You read all that stuff, and they had a very interesting relationship. She cared for him deeply. She was a strong-willed woman. They had a very dynamic relationship. I'm sure there were ups and downs in it, and it was important for her to care for him knowing that this ministry was going to be something that she was going to step into and further on his behalf. And so I think that it was really important for Gary, who played Damien, and I to really show that the relationship between them, there was softness, and then there was also a little bit of that, no, you're not going to get your way. We're not going to take a 30-day treatment and do 5 days for you. And I thought that was quite a good way to portray that.
And I wanted to add the Gary Mans, who's the actor playing Damien. Even though he didn't have any lines, he did an amazing job. And even his resemblance to Damien, it was kind of scary because he really, he grew the beard and he wanted to do the makeup and trying to look as close as possible as Damien as he did. He did a wonderful job on this scene. That actually, I had a great opportunity to see in the Sacred Hearts Academy archives. The brothers and fathers of Sacred Hearts and sisters in the archives do have a piece, the still of that sling that Marianne gave to Father Damien. So hopefully one day when the Education Center opens on Waikiki, they may display that so people can see it. Okay, the next scene that we wanted to show is a very short one, but it's the scene when Marianne got the news of the passing of Father Damien.
And while Deacon is finding that scene, I want to...
Suffering from sick headaches. My stomach refuses to participate in the digestion process. These orange shoes, the dark gaze of winter. And then I see you again. And such happiness at our arrival. You stand at your garden gate.
Wrong scene. I got the wrong scene. Let me move it forward.
That's okay. While you're looking for that, I was just going to quickly ask Eva. I want to commend you in that scene, your consciousness of looking directly in Damien's eyes and then asking permission of him before even touching him or reaching out to see what his need was. Because that's one of the things that through her biography, we get a great understanding that was very important, that you must have the permission of the patient. So she didn't just demand that of the doctors and or staff. It was important that she herself demonstrate that. And I think you did an excellent job throughout the play showing that. So thank you for that.
This is the second time actually that Marianne got to, during the show, got to see Damien. This is already on Kalapapa. Damien came and he actually is looking at the Blessed Sacrament chapel that the sisters do have. And Marianne invited him to go inside the house, but on respect, he didn't want to. He decided to stay outside. And that's why he's genuflecting there. He's genuflecting to the Blessed Sacrament. But then let me now play. Then after that, shortly after that, that is when he died.
The steeple from his own chapel in Calabar had been blown off. He never did get to repair the damage. I was told he slept peacefully throughout the entire windstorm. And then one of his boys brings word to us on Easter Monday.
Sister Eva?
No worries. I was just giving the audience that opportunity to just sink in with that one. As we heard the bells in the background, our understanding is that when the bells were rung, it was to announce Damien's death. And I know when we all three of us were talking about this, we were saying, you know, what was possibly going through, especially Marianne's mind, as she's now recognizing that Damien is gone. I mean, they're all exiled now on the peninsula, and the impact of that, even though they treated him, they knew he was dying, but now he's dead. Do you want to expand on that, what your thoughts were?
Well, I know when we were talking about this, I was thinking that, you know, Mother Marianne had been around this disease for a long time. She knew that people would pass away from it. So there was a small part of her that was probably prepared for his death. But I think the impact of the loss of the friendship, the loss of this compatriot who was ministering alongside her, and then also this burden of carrying on this ministry after his departure, I'm sure that she was very broken for a while and very sad. And the thing I like about the play is that because it showed through the entire production that she was talking to Damien, there was that connection, especially the friendship and the ministry of what they were doing here in the islands. You know, that connection was so strong that for him to be called home, you know, to the Lord, I think for her was probably a very tough situation. And again, that was the second part of the show where I actually got teary, because I was imagining that burden that she was feeling at that moment.
Towards the end of the show, we get to see Marianne now getting into old age. And now, because of she's not feeling strong, she's now in a wheelchair. And I do particularly love this scene because of the way Eva portrayed Marianne. And I wanted you guys to see as the sisters are coming in with Marianne in her wheelchair, and people thinking that she's sleeping, but she's just playing games with the sisters.
I remember everyone thinks I'm asleep. Lots of people over the past 27 years have thought I was asleep. But here I am, celebrating my 54th anniversary as a nun. November 1917. I still remember everything.
Eva, can you talk to us about your thought process through that scene? I know that you mentioned the other day on the rehearsal, how do you also research about even the position of Marianne in the wheelchair?
Yeah, I was, one of the things that I like to share with everybody is when I said yes to play Mother Marianne, one of the things I did was to read this book. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's Pilgrimage and Exile. And it's Mother Marianne of Molokai. I wanted to make sure that, you know, I knew all about her so that I wasn't just picking her up from the script. Plus, you know, having Sister Alicia there was fantastic. And Sister Marie Romano, you know, having them around was fantastic because they were also helping me do it. But the other thing I did is I looked at all the pictures of her at the end of her life. And she seemed to be in this position that I'm sitting there, you know, kind of leaning off to the side. What she was suffering from at the end of her life, you know, which is, you know, why you'll see me do this. And, you know, the little bit catching your breath, you know, when you're speaking. So I did try to put all that together. But Mother Maria did have a tiny playful side to her, and that's why the sisters in this scene, they're planning a celebration for her, and they think she doesn't know about it, but she knows about it because she knew what was happening around her. And so that was that whole look of, are they gone? So I thought that was kind of my one way of showing the little playful side of her. I'm sure that she wasn't all the time playful because she was a very serious lady that had a big job to do. But that little spark of playfulness, I was hoping to bring that to life as well.
Yes, it's going to be a moment on the screen that we're going to see the sisters coming, running behind with boxes and things. And she mentioned what just Eva says. Oh, they're thinking that I don't know, but here they are behind me, preparing the party and the sisters. I love the reaction. Also, the actresses, they're playing the sisters because they even make it sound like, oh man, this woman doesn't let us pass one. So, but sister, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I also wanted to pay attention to the time where we are right now, as well as to if you both were okay with this, to bring in a couple of the other cast members who I know are here and crew to share their thoughts. And I know earlier I had the opportunity to talk to Margaret, and so I'm going to ask her to unmute for a second and share what it was like for her. And then after Margaret, I'll ask Mike Browning to be the next person to share what it was like for him and, the roles you played.
Yeah, thank you, sister. Thank you, Deacon Modesto and Eva, for putting together this opportunity. So, I mean, I echo all what you all were saying earlier about the impact of this. And a couple of things really stood out for me. When we got the opportunity to go to Kalaupapa, and it's, it's not an easy place to get to, but we had the benefit of modern technology, right? The airplane, we had people pick us up in the car. And I'm thinking what it must have been like for the sisters going there, at a time, or just coming to Hawaii, period, coming across a vast ocean, the unknown. And, like Eva said, there's definitely a lot of places during this display, even though I was a silent sister, but just the emotion of it and getting into the habit before each performance. I mean, I just can't imagine, having to do that every day and then do your work, on top of that. So just a lot of respect and awe. I'm very humbled to just have a small part in that as well.
Thanks, Margaret. And I know your daughter also played a part, Bethany. So
yes, I'll have her jump over now.
Bethany was one of the little girls at the show. Now she's all
like
a mother.
Hi, sorry, I wasn't here right at the start, but I made it. It was a very, like my mom said, humbling experience. I was really young at the time, and I didn't get to go to Kalaupapa with my mom. I was actually too young at the time. You had to be 16, so I didn't get to go. But I was fortunate enough to go to Maui and Kauai with. Oh yeah, and Lanai. I was fortunate enough to go to the 3 islands with them, and I got to play the little leper who was helped in the one scene you guys saw in this version. But it was a really honoring experience, even though I was so young and I didn't fully comprehend and understand everything that might have been going on and the significance of it. It was still a really great experience, and such a great cast. Like Eva is a fantastic lady, and Deacon Modesto was just awesome. I had participated with him in several other places. It was just great to be working with him again, and still to be able to communicate and know them now. I'm fortunate enough that now as an adult, years later, I actually now work for St. Francis Healthcare System. I work with their hospice patients. So I'm kind of coming back around to the mission and still getting to be a part of it. And, you know, we hear a lot about the outreach of St. Mary Ann, and we just heard about it this week since it was her 10th anniversary of the canonization. So it's really humbling to know I got to be a part of it when I was so young, and now still be able to carry on that like work and mission she had. It's been a great experience.
Thank you, Bethany. Thank you, Margaret. Mike, you still with us?
I'm still here.
All right. Share your experience, and you might want to let the audience know what your role was so they understand where you're going to be coming from.
So I'm at St. John Apostle, where Deacon Modesto was his home parish, and my background was through my daughter. Worked a lot of theater, backstage, on technical crews. So I think Deacon Modesto kind of approached me from that perspective, but I'll say working with Deacon and working with Eva, it was just simply a pleasure and a privilege, really, to put this effort together. You know, from a technical aspect, you know, our job is to, you know, not be the focus. It's all supportive roles, and to think that this production was put together by novices. You know, this is not our primary mission. This was not our full-time job, and everybody put their time and effort in to really address the ministry of St. Damien and obviously St. Mary Ann. And I think looking back and looking at this video of some 10 years ago, I think of shows like The Chosen. We bring the written word and the oral traditions. We bring that to life anytime you put on a stage event, which brings some realism to what really transpired. So again, it was the goodness of God and giving us the creatives. It's goodness of having a leader like Deacon Modesto and taking this charge and bring it to life. And of course, Eva did a wonderful job and put up with all the shenanigans that we threw at her. You know, stand here, no, stand there. No, put your habit up a little bit. I can't adjust the lights. Don't touch your habit because it's going to make the sound really junk. So it was a privilege, and thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. You know, you might say a director job is just to help put the scenes together. But everything that you see there on the screen right now, lights, stage, the environment, costumes, everything, that is on the hands of the production crew, which Mike was able to lead. And I knew that I could go home and fall asleep knowing the things were going to be done. And I know that wasn't easy sometimes. You know, I will ask Mike, well, I would like this. And Mike says, are you sure? Says, yes, I know you will make it happen. And I will go home, and the next day it happens. Mike will make it happen. So I'm really grateful of all the work Mike put together for us and for his friendship through all these years. Sister, I think that we had the actress. I'm maybe a little biased, but it's my wife. She's with us. I don't know if she would like to say a comment or something.
Sure.
Hi.
Are you there, Eileen?
I'm here.
You have to bring your...
And Eileen, before you talk about being an actress, what was it like working with the director, your husband?
Oh.
Let's start there.
Well, no, it was always we have working together in play. So I know that it's interesting while we are working together because you always have a clash of leadership. I had to always remember that he's the leader, and I had to follow. But no, being part of I wanted to comment about the opportunity to go into the different islands with all with the sisters, because when we went, it was a pilgrimage. We were bringing Sister Mary Ann with us. We had the relics. with us. And I remember one, I think it was Big Island, we were already putting everything together. We were bringing Marianne to the car, and was a family who arrived late. And we had the family going into the car because they wanted to see Marianne. They wanted to pray with her, you know, and that is the power of Marianne that brought people together. And even to that point, it's like, it was very humbling because it was like we are bringing Marianne everywhere. And not only the story, but we are bringing Marianne. Everybody wants to be with her. So it was, you know, and again, the same thing with the habit, to put on those habits, knowing that a sister wore those habits, you know, it was different. When we put it all together, you know, it's like we needed to take it seriously, because somebody who loved the Lord so much and gave her life to God wear those habits. So we wanted to make sure that we did that for them, for Marianne, for the Sister of San Francis. So, yeah.
You know, this is a really good place too for us to make sure that we thank Sister Davelin, because Sister Davelin has been the keeper of the habits, and every single time that they want to resurrect Mother Marianne, you know, Sister Davelin, she gets all of the habits out, she cleans them, she makes sure. And so Sister Davelin, if you're watching, you know I love you too. So thank you for that.
And I want also to make a comment that every actress has a sister of San Francis assigned to them to come and help them get dressed before the show. So the actresses were not putting the habits on their own. They had sisters that came in, and they were on the back of the stage, getting all ready and getting them and giving the last check to be sure those bells were on the right place, the rosary was put it properly. So they did have all those sisters in there checking, and we were so grateful for all of them. We are about to almost finish. Sister, I don't know, you wanted to open to questions from the audience, but before you do that, on the screen, I wanted to show, this is the last scene of the show when basically Marianne is dying. And the way I wanted to portray was that Damien came down from heaven to pick her up and take her into this new journey. And Marianne turns to him and she said, Damien, November's son is your son. And then Damien start pushing the wheelchair out as they're going into paradise.
Thank you for sharing that, and for all of you crew and actors and director, we can't thank you enough. I remember when you were showing me these clips as we were rehearsing, I was just kind of going back to those moments too, and just saying, wow, reliving them and bringing them forward. So thank you for that opportunity. To the audience, please, if you have any questions for anyone about the role or the process of all of this, please type your questions at this time and we'll be happy to address them.
Or you just wanted to say something, speak up. I know, Sister Alicia, you are with us. You wanted to say something about your role in this show also and all the help.
So you got a shout out from Helen saying, well done, thank you, God be the glory.
Well, basically, you know, my role was a supportive role, and I was glad to be there. When I first read the script with the monologue, yes, it would have been really dynamic and would have been really good, but I think, Modesto, what you did in bringing it alive with everybody there and all the characters that is part of Mother Marianne's life, I think was very, very important. And I'm glad it was, you know, there. So it was a privilege in working, you know, with you, and you know, I've never really helped with anything like that. So it was very interesting. I learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you to you, sister. Thank you.
How about any of the Sisters of the Sacred Hearts? Anything you want to share? And thank you for having parts of the slings still available for the public to be able to see. All right, well, Deacon is bringing that piece in. And one of the questions is, or comments was, well done. Was the play recorded? And if so, where can it be viewed? And I'll probably take that one. The play is recorded. At this time, there's no copies that we sisters have here in Syracuse or Hawaii that we're aware of. We're not sure about the cathedral, but if you do need a copy, please email us on the DMCC email, and we will see what we can do to locate copies and get you that information. Someone else is saying, hopefully you can bring this to us on the mainland. Yep, that would be our hope and our prayer, but like everything else, it takes funding, as well as we just want to be cognizant of the fact of COVID. But that would be wonderful if in the next 10 years we can move this forward. And if we don't make copies, have you re-record it so that we can have copies going forward. Anyone else have a question or comment you want to share? Let's see. How did
Cheryl, can you hear me?
Now I can. If you were talking before, no, I couldn't hear you.
Marie Jose, Sister Marie Jose.
Hey, you're here.
Hi.
Yeah, well, I'm having technical difficulties. I cannot see you right now, but I just want to say I played one of the sisters on the show, and it was, for me, actually, I am a sister. I was really touched, but what Eva did with Mother Marianne's portrayal and with Deacon Cordero's direction, it was wonderful to be in it and playing one of my own sisters. Thank you so much for doing it.
Thank you to you, sister.
Yeah, thank you, sister.
You were there from the beginning when we started rehearsing at the Sanctuary of St. John's Apostle and Evangelist in Mililani. Thank you.
Yeah. I lost your picture. My phone is off right now.
Okay. Thanks, Sister Marie Jose. Another question that came up was, how did St. Marianne get from New York to California? She did it by train. I just went blank. Maybe Alicia or Marie can help me. How many days did it take?
Yes, she did go by train. They went to by train to San Francisco. When they were ready to leave, Mother had forgotten her purse. So she sent the others on and then went back to the mother house and told the sisters, see, I was good. I told you I was going to be back. And then caught up with the sisters later. They stayed for about a week and a half in San Francisco and then boarded the Mariposa.
Gotcha. So her trip was a little different than Damien, shorter for sure. I remember when I was researching St. Damien, his was like 140 something days from Belgium to Sandwich Islands. But nonetheless, like I said, they had their different aspects of what that was like for them to get their biographies, and you get a good sense of what it was like for them.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to say thanks so much for the commentary. I saw the play naturally, but it was so good to hear your impressions and the background and how it came together. I think I appreciated it more just listening to all the commentary. Thanks so much.
Thank you, sister.
Thank you, sister.
I'm going to go to lunch now, so
sure.
Goodbye.
All right. Thanks. Thanks to everyone that joined us. And for your commentary. So we'll tell you what's coming up next. So for our, the next one is December 10th with Bishop Larry of Honolulu, and what it's been like for him as a bishop, and as they call him, the bishops of saints. And so he will do his piece from the cathedral, talking about also from the artistic perspective, some of the choices that they have made there at the cathedral, but his journey as well. So please join us for the next one on December 10th. Again, any donations towards what you're seeing in the webinars, please feel free to do so. Your gifts of presence is as important as well as the gift of money. So thank you all for that in the past, and going forward, we'd like to continue doing the series. And so at this time, we will close. And I will just share a piece for us that we did here in Syracuse as we got up yesterday morning preparing for the celebration. And it's a tribute to our sisters there in Hawaii as well. For the past 139 years, the Sisters of St. Francis have committed themselves to reach out to serve Hawaii through healthcare, education, and social ministries, to enrich the lives of all the people of Hawaii. We attest to the wisdom and vision of St. Mary Ann Cope and to the magnificent spirit of our predecessors, which make possible the multitude of successes we celebrate today. We are so grateful for all of our sisters who have served in Hawaii during these years, and we're grateful to all of the lives whom they have touched. And so it started on November 8th, 1883, when Mary Ann Cope and 6 sisters arrived in Honolulu. One of the commentaries at the time said, "They come, good sisters come, their love for Christ to prove and soothe our stricken hearts with heaven's divinest love." So again, on behalf of our God and our sister, St. Mary Ann, we the Sisters of St. Francis, thank you all for what you have done and produced and what you're sharing with us today, as well as you, the audience. Aloha and God bless. In the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.